All right. So this is very exciting and quite a unique looking contraption here. And you guys can see the belt itself. It's quite interesting looking. So it's kind of like a treadmill, I guess. There's some kind of adjusters here. It looks like maybe for leveling or something. Very interesting. Now, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm gonna flip this thing around, see if we can see the bottom. Because it's all tethered here, it makes it a little more complicated. All right, so we managed to flip it around, and yeah, we have 4 nice large squishy rubber feet, and you guys can see we do have a plate here that can be, looks like, taken off. So we're going to go ahead and remove this and see the electronics inside. So let's go ahead and grab the tool bag, which also has some snippers. Very nice. A nozzle wrench. Looks like a calibration spacer of 0.10. So yeah, nozzle cleanout needle, some zip ties, and our tools, which include a set of Allen wrenches, a flathead screwdriver, and a few open-ended wrenches. So let's go ahead and find the Allen wrench we need for these bolts. We'll go ahead and remove them. All right, that should be all of them. Okay, and the plate comes off, and there's a little fan attached to it for cooling, which I'll go ahead and unplug. Get it out of the way here. But yeah, it looks pretty simple under here, guys. So yeah, starting here, we can see the power supply, the on and off switch that's fused with the power input here. It is the slim kind, and we have a fan here that cools it off. And if we go on this side of the power supply, we can see that we have our voltage selection there, and ours is on 230, which I need to switch to the 115. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Very simple. So yeah, make sure you check that before you forget about it. That looks like the branding of the power supply. And yeah, everything is very nicely crimped and tightened and routed. And you guys can see we got these ferrites here, I guess for power noise reductions. A lot of that kind of stuff here, so very interesting. So this is the Creality board. The stepper drivers are integrated, but they do have heat sinks on top. There's another heat sink here, looks like for the heated bed. And then we got the main chip right there, which might be a little hard to see, but it is an ARM processor. Full-size SD card, very nice. But yeah, very nice and clean, and what you'd expect from Creality, and that is simplicity with great build quality. I'm gonna put the lid back on and flip it around, and we'll start the assembly. All right, so we got everything flipped back around. Well, let's go ahead and grab our manual. Oh, let's see what else is in here. So we got a little warranty card, quality certificate, some stickers, that's cool, an envelope with something in it. I guess a little thank you from Creality. That's nice. And I guess some information of how to contact them. Very cool. We also get an after sales card that, you know, if you have any kind of trouble or have any questions of what's covered, everything is here, including this warranty card that you can fill out and go from there. So yeah, lots of documentation here. Another thank you for your order. And finally, the manual itself. So Creality usually does a great job with their manuals, and this one's no exception, looks like. The parts list of everything that's included. And here's our step 1 for installation. So for step 1, looks like we're going to be working on the front of the printer, installing these 2 rails. And that's these 2 right here. So one of them that had the filament detector, and the other one actually I didn't even pull out of the foam. It was still left in there. So yeah, they simply go here on the front. And just like that, I guess. But we're also going to need 4 M512 bolts, which let's go ahead and find them here in our packet. So they are all labeled, but it's a little hard to see. It's on the actual bag. It's a really nice presentation, but not as obvious. So if you're wondering, it is on the bag. So we got M512s right here. So this is what we're looking for. All right, so hopefully you guys can see here. So the one with the filament detector is gonna go here on the right side if you're looking to the front. And the plain one is gonna go on this side, which is the left side. So let's go ahead and grab our little bolts and grab our wrench. Go ahead and install this side here. So I'm not gonna tighten it yet because this is part of the frame that's going to connect the back part there. So I want to wait before I, solidify it because it can move around a little bit here and there. So we'll go ahead and start this one also. All right, and we'll leave it loose for now so it can move around. And let's go to the next step. So the next step is a little more exciting because we're going to be connecting, I guess, the upper portion here to these rails we just installed and also to the back of the printer on the base. So we're going to need quite a few different bolts, which are 8 M518s, 2 M512s, and 2 M545s. And if you guys look here, maybe you can see they're numbered. So we got 20, and 20 is here on the sides on the back. The manual does a good job here telling you where each bolt goes. So here we have the packet of M518s. Get those bolts ready. We're going to need 2 of the M512s, which are the shorter black bolts, and 2 of these longer M545. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this pretty well, but yeah, we're going to just grab this upper portion and we're going to set it on top of here, and also it's going to line up here. So let's go ahead and try that. Now make sure that all your wires here are not tangled up. which mine seem to be fine. Maybe I do need to make a spin. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. So I just spun it one way. I think I got it tangled as I was moving it around, but in any case, make sure you're not too tangled up, and it should just sit right on top of these rails here. And then down here, it's gonna line up also with the channel and just kind of sit down. So as you guys can see, it should kind of all fall into place. So we're gonna grab 3 5/18 bolts, and they're gonna go here, and then also on the other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and start them. So I'm not going to tighten them at all. We're just kind of running them down. And before we go to the other side, let's go ahead and put the longer bolt, which is the M545, through here. And it's going to go literally through this channel into this one. And then the smaller one, the M512, will go here. So yeah, this ain't too bad actually. It only seems a little complicated in the beginning, but once you get to it, it's pretty intuitive here of how it comes together. Actually guys, the bolt that goes here is the same one, which is the M5/18, which we used over here. Same one goes here. The one I was showing you earlier was not the right one. I'm not tightening anything. I haven't tightened this bolt, I haven't tightened that one. Just kind of ran everything down. So let's flip it around and go to the other side and do the same thing. So yeah, same thing here. And 3 bolts on the bottom. And then same bolt up here, and the large one over here. Yeah, this thing lines up very well together and seems to be all pretty good and solid there. So yeah, the reason we haven't tightened everything because we want to make sure that the frame is going to sit exactly where it wants to and kind of, you know, stretch where it needs to. So you probably want to kind of push down on it a little bit, make sure everything is, you know, in its place. And then when it feels very solid, there's no any kind of unevenness, we can go back and tighten all the bolts that we put in. So I'm going to start with these on the bottom, and then we'll make our way up and then go to the back. So remember also the very first bolts we put in on these pieces down there also. And this is the reason why you want to wait to tighten everything, is because you want everything to line up perfectly and kind of settle down at where it wants to be. And while you are tightening all that, you can go ahead and, you know, tighten the other factory bolts that we haven't touched yet. They look like they could be tightened a little too. So yeah, you just kind of, you know, go around the printer and tighten everything, because bolts do loosen up over time. So we are not done yet, because there are 2 more 5x12 millimeter bolts that actually go from the bottom here. So let's go ahead and see, and we can go ahead and grab those things. Wow, that's quite heavy. But yeah, maybe you guys can see there's one here and one here, and so this kind of holds it from the bottom. And we can go ahead and tighten these up all the way. All right, so yeah, I think we are done with this step. But while we're under here, guys, check out this motor that looks like it has some kind of gear reduction here, which then goes from this gear to this main gear here that turns the belt. Very interesting. This is a very unique printer indeed. So we do have some wiring here that looks like connects here, so I guess I'm gonna go ahead and connect that. But yeah, it looks like, guys, we are definitely getting somewhere, because we have the frame built and it's very solid and feels really good. So yeah, that was all step 2. So for step 3, we're installing the spool holder, which goes here, looks like, for looking at the front, on the right side. So here we have the spool holder, and it looks like it goes right here somewhere, maybe, according to the picture. And we are going to need some T-nuts, 2 of them, and 2 5x8 bolts. So let's grab the 5x8 and also 2 T-nuts. So we're going to grab the spool holder and we're going to put the bolt through there. And then on the other end, we're going to put the T-nut. We're going to start it here, and just like that, you guys can see, on both of the bolts. And so the way T-nuts work is they line up with the channel. Once you start screwing it in, it should spin inside the groove here and then lock in. So yeah, it's just going to drop into the channel like that. And then we're going to grab our wrench. Probably can't see that, but yeah, you want to probably unscrew it a bit, but you want to line it up as close as possible to the center of the channel. And then as you start tightening it, the T-nut should turn and lock in into the channel. So if you're having trouble and it's not locking in, try unscrewing it and then screwing it again, and that should turn it. So it is a little fiddly sometimes. It does work. All right, so one of mine caught, now the other one. So now I just need to tighten it. All right, so once you get those tight, your spool holder should be nice and planted here. So yeah, the filament will go on here, and then it'll kind of feed through the filament detector and then through there into the extruder. All right, so that was step 3. Step 4 is installing the display controller, which also goes right here. And looks like we need to feed it through here maybe. Yes. And mine actually got unplugged, so make sure you check that. Plug it back in. And yeah, it's simply gonna sit right here, right on the end. So you kind of want to route your wires here on the back where they're not, you know, going to the front of the spool holder, but the back of it. So So yeah, same little bolts with the T-nuts. We're gonna go ahead and peel it here on the screen a bit so we can put the bolt in. The T-nut on the back of it, same way. Again, make sure your plug is plugged in. Mine keeps on plugging for some reason. I guess I keep moving it around too much, but yeah, so same way, guys. We're just gonna line it up with the channel and the T-nuts will fall into the groove. And then we're gonna grab our wrench and start tightening it up. Yeah, and it should grab. So that one grabbed. Make sure you're centered up. Same thing here. And that one grabbed also. So we're going to tighten it up a little bit, but not too hard, guys, because this top faceplate is plastic, so you don't want to over tighten it. Yeah, that's how the screen goes on. All right, so for step 5, looks like we just need to connect all of our connectors everywhere. Simple enough. And then here we have some leveling tips. So this is going to be quite interesting on the leveling because we are at a 45 degrees angle. So this could be quite unique, but I'm sure we'll figure it out here. So we got our display plugged in. If we move over here to the extruder, we can see that it's already plugged in, but we do have another wire here with the other motors here, which says Y on it, which will plug in under here to the Y axis. So I guess because this is a Core XY printer, it makes sense that the belt here is the Z. So yeah, that makes it a little bit confusing than usual, but that's okay. So we do have another plug here, a small one. This one actually goes to the filament detector, and there's a plug on the other side. It should just plug in. So this wire looks pretty good here. And then from our hot end, we have the PTFE tubing that will go into the coupler here. So there is a little clip that we have to pull out from the coupler. Then we're going to push the PTFE tubing to the extruder. And then we're going to insert this little clip back in. And that's going to lock in the tube. So now we went ahead and plugged in that one wire on the bottom you guys saw earlier. And believe it or not, guys, that appears like everything that we have to plug in. So yeah, not too complicated here. All right, so let's take a closer look here at the CR-30 PrintMill. So yeah, it looks quite unique for sure. So let's go ahead and start here on the top. So you guys can see the two motors here for the Core XY movement. We got the extruder here, which is a dual gear, very nice. I definitely like this one here. It's more mechanical, old school, which are my favorite. The motors look pretty nice. So you guys can see the 45 degree angle, and this is what the top rail here rides on. So we got 4 rollers. 2 are stationary, 2 are adjustable. So if your rollers are too tight or too loose, you can see here we got eccentric nuts, and you can adjust them to be closer or farther away. And what you want is you want to be able to spin the roller, like this one's spinning here, in one spot. So that just tells you that, you know, they're loose enough. So if you do need to adjust yours, you can right here with the provided wrench. So the back of the printer, there's nothing too interesting here. We have the belts that run for the Core XY. Now, one thing to note is that these belts are really thick. So yeah, it's more of a heavy duty kind of build here on this printer. And they all come together here on each side to move the hot end left to right, but also the whole axis up and down. So here we have one of the end stop switches. And then the other end stop switch is actually in there. Maybe tell it's actually an optical sensor with the nub right here that goes into it. And the main part of the printer, which is this really large belt that runs across pretty long length here. So the idea here is that you can continuously print as it peels off, as the belt continues to, you know, run round and round. So this is the main feature of this printer and what makes it really unique. Now the belt itself has got a really interesting kind of, I'm not sure even know how to explain it. It's kind of like a vinyl or something, and it's got like a little pattern in it. So hopefully that sticks pretty well. Got really heavy duty rollers with bearings here, and there looks like to be adjustable parts here that, you know, you can move closer and farther, but it appears to be nicely pre-tensioned, and hopefully it's all level and running straight and we don't have to mess too much with it. But if you do, all of these pieces here, they do adjust, and we also have some adjustments here that looks like have a locking nut, and then we can turn it up and down, looks like from there, and there's like a plate underneath that. So the hot end itself looks pretty generic. It does have 2 parts cooling fans, which is nice. And the heat block is insulated. Our heat break fan on the front here. And again, as noted before, it is on a 45 degree angle. So that's going to be quite interesting how it's going to put, especially the first layer down. So yeah, going here to the front, you guys can see we have a really big, large Creality logo. And this is also kind of like a little shield here that keeps the prints from going under. But theoretically, as your print starts to, you know, go off here, it should just peel right off. We do have our voltage selection here right up front, which we already changed to 115. So if you have to change that to your voltage, make sure you do that. Our full size SD card, and here it looks like we have a micro USB connection. And to the right of the printer, we have the display. Let's go ahead and peel this protector off. Well, I guess we need to pull the knob off. Yeah, the knob just pulls off and you can get it off completely, and then we'll push it back in. It doesn't really matter which way it goes. it spins around in circles and circles, so it doesn't really matter. So the display is definitely, you know, quite dated looking, and I wish they would have went with something a little bit more modern. At least keep these huge bezels here to a minimum, but you know, it is what it is, and the finish on the front here doesn't look all that appealing either. But in any case, it is the control function and it does work pretty well. I just feel like for this caliber of printer, it should have had a better control display there. So, but yeah, going from there, we can see our spool holder. So our spool will sit in here, the filament will go through the detector into the extruder, and then from the extruder down the PTFE tubing into the hot end. All of our cables are very nicely managed. You guys can see, very clean design. I went ahead and put some zip ties here to clean this part up here. But yeah, overall, very nice looking solid printer and very unique indeed. So on the right side, we have our power input port that is fused with an on and off switch. And on top of that, we can see the manufacturing label. And you guys can see our print volume there is 200 by 170 and infinitely, I guess, long. And a 350 watt power supply. So yeah, guys, very excited and honestly a little nervous of how this is going to work with the whole belt and everything. So I think for next part, let's go ahead and plug in the cable and turn it on. All right, so we got it plugged in into the wall. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. All right, so it boots up. And you probably guys can't see that, but there's like a little boot up welcome. Okay, so it looks like it's up and running. There's definitely some noise from fans, quite pronounced actually. So yeah, I just want to mention that. Well, let's go ahead and see what we got in here. I haven't used this kind of system in a while. All right, so we got, let's see, motion here. What's motion? Okay, so we can move axes individually or we can go home. So let's go ahead and click on out of home, see what happens. Let me zoom you guys in here. And right off the bat, I can see that I think the nozzle is way too low. Yeah, it's literally, there's no gap between the bed and the nozzle. So it looks like maybe we do need to be adjusting these knobs here to go up and down. Okay, I see how this works. So basically the top bolt, you unscrew and unscrew, it doesn't really do anything. And then this washer here is the thing that pushes down on the plate. So depending on how much you want to go down, this upper one kind of controls that too. So it's kind of hard to explain, but like right now I pushed it down. There is now a bunch of room. So yeah, it's definitely adjustable. It's a little hard to explain how it's adjustable, but, and as I'm doing this, guys, I'm realizing that maybe I should be moving this thing. So we're going to go to move axes and then move X 1 millimeter at a time, I guess. So now we can move it across and see how it is as we go. It's got to be exactly the same plane as it is on this side. So as we get to this side, now we can level that corner correctly, because if we disable the steppers, we're going to mess everything up and it's just going to fall down. Okay, so that looks about right. To my understanding, the nozzle is only going to touch the bed at this point here on this, so it doesn't move anywhere else. So I'm guessing these are probably fine here. I got this adjusted pretty well between the two ends. Hopefully it's close enough to the bed to stick. And so as it builds, it's going to go up and not, you know, this way. So we should be good. So as long as we can get this plane straight here, and everything after that is pretty reasonable, should be all right, I think. So I think we're pretty good right there. I do have to say that is a little bit tricky here, I guess, digest of how it all moves, because not only is a core XY, but it's on a 45-degree angle. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can preheat here. So we'll go to temperature, then all the way down to preheat PLA, and we'll start that. So we do have bed heating also, which I guess is under the belt here, and that's going to 55 and the nozzle is going to 185. So while that's warming up, let's go ahead and grab our filament, open it up. You want to cut it on an angle. So we're going to set it here on the spool holder, go through the filament detector, which glows a little light here, indicating detection, and then into our extruder arm. So I'm going to go ahead and push it all the way through to the hot end. And we see some filament coming out over there. All right, so we're good. I can go ahead and raise this. Maybe we can purge a little more. All right. So let's grab our SD card that was included. Plug it in right here in the front. And it does look like it goes upside down. Yes, it does. So you probably guys can't see, but we're gonna go to attach card and then print from card. And let's see if we have any kind of G codes here. No. Oh wait, here we go. Model 3D printing. Okay, so there are some G codes here. So let's just go ahead and go with the first one. I'm not sure what it is. And sorry guys if you can't see anything. Click on print and let's see what happens. For some reason, guys, I don't think I have much faith that it's gonna stick on our first try here, but all right, there it goes. So it's homing. Get that booger out. Yeah, I feel like I might be a little bit too far from the build plate. Oh, let's see. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it's not low enough. Okay, I wonder if there's a way to adjust that. Tune. Okay, so there is baby step, X and Y. Is this going to be a Z baby step? Let's see. Okay, so it doesn't let me adjust anything on the Z. Okay, so it does appear to be on the Y. Okay, so we went up a lot. If we go back down, I'm going to start the print over and see if I can adjust it on the fly. So let's go back, stop print. All right, so we did have somewhat a success there because we figured out how to adjust it. So let's see if we can get it right on our second try. Same print, we'll start the print. I'll zoom you guys in, maybe you can see a little better what's going on over there. While it's heating, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to tune it. All right, so there we go. Okay, maybe I need to go down just a little more. Go 0.15. Yeah, a little more. I can see it here from the side a little better. So right now I'm 0.25, and that looks just about right actually. So yeah, it looks like I am still a little high. I'm gonna go ahead and go down to 0.5 actually. So quite a bit lower. So I have a feeling that the way it came was actually probably pretty good, the way it was adjusted, and I messed it up because nozzle's on a 45-degree angle. It really has to be very close to the bed, like almost touching, in order for it to have a pretty good successful stick to the bed itself. So anyways, the good part is that it is adjustable, so you can fine tune that as we print it, and it's only really important as it starts printing, because as it continues, it's going to only print on that one line there. So it's not like you would think where it travels all over the bed. It just stays on this plane here. Because it's on a 45-degree angle, it can't really do much more than, you know, stay on a very, very small plane that it has when it gets close to the bed. And so if it needs to move, you know, a long line from here to here, the belt will turn, not, you know, the nozzle travel. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense there. Well, yeah, we're looking really good. Let me guys get you from another angle where maybe you can see a little better. Or maybe you guys can see here a little better. But yeah, you can see how it's printing on a 45 degrees. So yeah, it's kind of weird, to be honest. Like, I can't imagine that the prints will come out, you know, as good as a typical 90-degree kind of print where it's straight down. But looking at it here initially, it definitely doesn't look bad. So especially, you know, with what it has to work with. So yeah, so far everything looks pretty good and appears to be no issues. We are sticking to the bed, looks like, and the bed is warm and pretty much hot to the touch like you would expect. So the heated part of it is working just fine, and it appears like we're good to go. So yeah, I guess we're gonna let this thing print out and see what comes out. But yeah, you guys can see here we got the old school Marlin software. We're in the baby steps, and this is how much I went offset. So yeah, definitely, you know, not using this for a while, it's a little bit more clumsy, it seems like, compared to what we got these days, but not a big deal. Everything is here, so let's go back here. So here we can see all of our parameters. So we got 210 on the nozzle, 60 on the bed, fans at 100%. That's our coordinates on all the axes, flow rate 100%, percentage done, and how much time passed, which is 9 minutes. And the bar here doesn't look like it filled up yet, so looks like we got a while to go. Now we can adjust a few things. If we go to like tune, we can adjust the speed, the nozzle, the bed, fan, flow, and then our baby steps here. So yeah, and you want to adjust the Y for up and down. That's what worked for me. So, and you can do a bunch of other things here too. So yeah, so that's the basics there, and I think that's all we really need to know at this point. And you guys can see our spool holder is feeding very nicely, and then going through the PTFE tubing there into the hot end. So there's not like a great angle to film this thing at, but it looks like everything is going good so far there, whatever is printing. See if I can move this out of the way. It does stick pretty well actually. So this is our first print. Not expecting, you know, too much to go right here, but it would be nice if we can complete it so we can kind of see what we got there and we can learn from it. This is a lot different than normal. It's still very interesting how this thing is working. In any case, guys, we're gonna let this thing print out and we'll see what comes out. So yeah guys, as you saw there, that was our first print to pop off the belt, and our little mini factory here is going pretty good. As you guys can see, that the biggest issue that it is having is the start, and it did get a little better as we went because I did lower the baby steps even lower, so that seemed to help it quite a bit. But yeah, pretty cool how we can just print and they'll just fall right off the edge here as they're completed. Very cool. So I don't know how much more I'm going to print of this, because if you look at the screen, we're right at 9 hours, so, and it's about halfway, maybe a little more. So there's quite a bit more printing to do, but I don't think I want to print the whole thing. It is going to take a while for sure. So, and you guys can see our filament's getting used up. But yeah, as far as the operation and the mechanics, everything is working perfectly. The dual gear extruder is pushing the filament in very nicely, precisely. And the high end doesn't seem to have any trouble either, printing here on this 45-degree angle. And if we take our look at our first cube here, we can see that the layers are sitting pretty well. I don't know if you guys can see that, but not bad, but it's not perfect for sure. So, I mean, this being Core XY plus a 45-degree angle, it's still very impressive of how straight the layers went down. So yeah, very cool.